He's like, well, if my mom had balls, she would be my dad.
He's always like, WTF, mate? Saturdays are for competition again.
He was 40 points back.
Wakey, wakey, Lando. Wakey, wakey. Look at that gap.
Without Kimi Antonelli, Max wins the championship.
That's like something you'd see in the F1 movie. Is this the world champion hotline? Lando had to win his first against Max. Formula One fans, welcome to the Tyred Boys podcast. I'm your host, Justin.
And I'm Aaron. Welcome back, everyone. We had one of the biggest races of the year, the Monaco Grand Prix this weekend. So there's a lot to get into. We had Formula 3 and Formula 2 races. We've got some quick hitters, but Justin, it's good to see you. I'm excited to get into all the nitty gritty. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it'll be this will be a nice one to chat about. The Monaco Grand Prix is always, at least good for some conversations, good for, seeing some celebs, seeing some, what's the word? Like, people from your sport, just like other athletes and things like this. So yeah, always like a star-studded grid in that regard.
Get some crossover episodes in for the Monaco Grand Prix.
There you go.
But I'll jump into the quick hitters first and breeze through. And so, Justin, we've talked about it a little bit with the Indy 500, the Coca-Cola 600, doing the double, all of this stuff. The internet brought the information to me, but there's only been one person to complete the double between the two. It was 25 years ago in 2001, where Tony Stewart completed the double and finished P6 at the Indy 500 and then P3 at the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte. So he is the only one who's ever done it. So I guess that is a pretty valid reason for some of these drivers to go for it, to kind of etch your name in history, knowing it's a pretty difficult thing to do. So I thought I'd have a little callback here to start the episode.
Okay, no, that's like great information to know. Where they're basically they're trying to put themselves with Tony Stewart in that pantheon. Not necessarily like be the first to like do this made up thing, but it's like no, like this guy who's like classically a really good racer, like he already did it. So in some ways, it's like the Tony Stewart double challenge or something.
Yeah, basically. But talking about firsts in another way, we have a couple of firsts with Abby Pulling, the 2024 Formula One Academy champion, who went and took pole position and then won her first GB3 race, becoming the first woman to win in GB3, the Great British Formula 3. So that is, just a really exciting moment. I'm enjoying like following along with these drivers' careers, like Dorian Pan, Abby Pulling, and seeing what they can do, and seeing them be successful is just exciting for the sport, for motorsports, and just opening doors for people of all ages, genders, nationalities to get out there and drive.
Yeah, and getting a win at Spa, one of the great circuits is, a boon as well. So yeah, strong victory for Abby Pulling there in GB3. Very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, so a pretty cool moment for her, and very, very exciting. So congratulations to her there. But moving to the next quick hitter, we have something that may be kind of something we'll see in the future potentially. Toyota is officially created a liquid hydrogen powered supercar. They're going to be debuting it at the Circuit de la Sarthe with this prototype for some public demonstration runs and all. But looking forward into the future, I think there's hopes that they'll be able to race the car at Le Mans or some of these other supercar championships, whether there are some sort of amendments made to allow them to use different fueling or how that would work. I'm not entirely sure, but the car looks very very cool, and I think it's a neat step forward in that sustainable energy use for driving and all, and cutting down on fossil fuels.
And I'm curious, were there any details as to like benefits of that fuel, like the reasons why they would want to go that route?
I think just in general, like it's high liquid hydrogen. So I believe when it burns off, it just becomes water. So it's just condensation. It's just a very clean source of energy and all, versus even the like sustainable fuels and everything that we're not depleting or using fossil fuels. I'm sure there's still some sort of negative from the exhaust and everything using those. So I think just a kind of a step forward in that sustainability direction.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Very cool.
Yeah, so we'll breeze through these next couple quick hitters, but Kevin Magnussen was announced he's going to be driving for the Trackhouse team in the NASCAR Cup Series at San Diego. So I don't know if that's going to be just a one-time thing, or if he's now looking at potentially moving over into the NASCAR arena, but it'll be cool. I'll be keeping an eye out to see how he does in that NASCAR racing. Over in IndyCar, there was the race in St. Louis yesterday as well. But the main highlight I wanted to bring was actually from the Indy NXT series, where we had Miles Rowe, who was on pole position, had the pole position taken away and dropped to the back of the field because of a technical infringement. But then came all the way through the entire field from last to first to win the race there in St. Louis for the Indy NXT series. From what I was reading up on him and everything, and seeing online, he sounds like a phenomenal oval track racer and just has a really great feel for it. A lot of people were throwing out that they would love to see him in the Indy 500 next year as a even just like a additional entry for a team, or like a wild card kind of thing, just because of that skill on the oval tracks. But pretty cool thing, and a crazy last to first performance from Rowe. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he continues to do and if he gets those opportunities.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it sounds like, yeah, it sounds like an oval, man, like it's definitely a combination of your opponents not like covering off what you're trying to do, but then also, yeah, like you're saying, he must just have had such a feel on the day to make such gains. Because you got to figure, like, if you're starting out front on an oval, you should be able to like close that down. But yeah, what's great about the IndyCar, the push to pass that they have access to allows for some exciting racing. So yeah, that's great. Alasta first is that's crazy.
Yeah, I think it was a 23 car field or something like that. So
Okay.
really, yeah, just making moves and dicing his way through the competition. Um, the last little bits of news, kind of more Formula One related, are that the Las Vegas Grand Prix has been extended to 2037. So we will have a lot more of the Vegas Strip and manhole covers and blocking pedestrian views from restaurants and all of the beauty that comes with that for many years to come here.
And the sphere, don't forget the sphere. That's the best
Oh,
part. Don't you
well,
just
we
love
never know.
when it
Next
starts
year,
looking at you?
yeah, maybe they'll just start like changing the face each year. Maybe it'll start becoming like more realistic until it just is just really overly distracting. It's not distracting now. It's they've got to do a little more work, I think. So,
Sure. Sure, to make it like really stand out. I
oh yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, just you might miss it if you're not looking for it. So,
Yeah, it's kind of tough to see, honestly. Like,
So yeah, plenty more of the Sphere and Las Vegas ahead for the next little over a decade. But
11 years.
yep, lots of racing on
Fun.
the streets of Vegas. I'm sure the locals are ecstatic about 3 months every year of their streets being covered with grandstands and all of that. Build it, tear it down, come back 7 months later and start again or whatever it is. So
And like that's happening in other places that are holding the street races, but in some ways it sounds worse for the Las Vegas environment, and I don't exactly know why, but it definitely sounds like it's worse.
I think a lot of the other circuits that are in cities and street temporary street circuits are not in as heavily like utilized areas typically.
Sure.
Like I think Albert Park is a little bit more off to the side. I feel like that's like Kelly Drive here in Philly, where you're just like this long, windy road alongside the river and all that. A little bit different than like going straight down the Las Vegas Strip. So I think that's probably what allows it to be a little easier because Vegas is just chaos all the time. I can't imagine that being an easy process of the build and tear down of everything with all the other stuff going on there.
Yeah, rather them than me. Glad I don't got to do it. Glad I just get to watch it.
Absolutely, and not from behind a big cloth wall that they've put up, or by riding an escalator up and down to see over it. Uh, but the last little bit of news was that Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur was in the hospital on Saturday. He missed the Saturday runnings, but was back for Sunday's race. So hopefully all is good there for Fred, and just hoping to continue seeing him around the grid, and hopefully everything's all right over there.
Yeah, and then he had another heart attack when Charles crashed late in the race.
Well, it's a relatively like commonly it's a common talking point in just a lot of other sports in general that when someone signs a contract extension that they just throw their performance and their work and effort and everything to the wayside because they've got that bag now locked in for another few years. So maybe Charles just like was like, I got the bag. Who needs to win at Monaco again? Like I've already done it once, and just decide
Eh,
to
60 laps is good enough.
yeah, just go on out there. But we'll talk more about that. But one of the uh, other talking points here that I had was Charles's contract extension for Do You Work Here. He does work there, and for who knows how many more years. Charles was already contracted until 2028 with Ferrari, so multiple year extension pushes that out. Probably to 2030 or who knows what, but he is locked in at Ferrari, and I wanted to pick your brain a little bit and see like what are your thoughts about this? Like, do you feel does Charles Leclerc win a championship, a driver's championship at Ferrari? Because he's putting all his eggs in that basket.
Yeah, I mean he's hoping he does. I think to the drivers there's something I I think with Ferrari yeah, I'll use this idea. I think with Ferrari drivers feel like they are looking into the future when they look at that team. Ferrari's like been around as long as racing, and I have a feeling that they will be around as long as racing. Their pedigree is undeniable, especially like their pedigree in Formula One. Yeah, Mercedes and Red Bull have had the trophy lifts, but Ferrari has always been there. They've always been in the conversation. Most years they are like the number one contender or like in that like at least in that like top 3 team conversation, you know, like pretty much every year.
Mm,
Um, so it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it's a bad bet. And again, I think you just run into that problem of like, bro, where else are you gonna go if you don't want to be in the Carlos Sainz position where you're going to just like obviously Ferrari was scheming. I think he was like out. He was like he just had to find a seat. Like it basically wasn't up to him. However, you don't want to opt into going to like a tier 3 team, you know, when you're already in a car that like it can make podiums. Like I don't really
yeah.
see anything wrong with that. Like and to a certain degree now, like he's very close to being Ferrari's like longest tenured driver. You know, there's something to be
Mm,
said for that. So yeah, I think he has felt like nibbles of success in Ferrari, and you know, I'm not seeing any reason why they wouldn't be able to like provide a championship for him.
yeah.
They're one of the top teams.
No, I think that's a fair point. And the biggest one being like where does he go? I think a lot of the potential chaos kind of would hinge on like Max retiring essentially for Charles to potentially go somewhere else where the dominoes fall. Red Bulls talked about, oh, after Max, if we have our eye on someone, Oscar would be probably the guy. And then that opens a seat in McLaren. And then who comes in there? Does Charles go there and try and win with McLaren? But yeah, with all the unknown, I think it's a solid bet. Plus, these F1 contracts seem to be bought out periodically. So if someone really, really wants him, I'm sure they will pay the money for him to drive for them. So I guess we'll see. But I think, like you said, I think it's overall a good um, decision locking yourself into a top team for as long as you're able to. Um, it's just tough to say whether they will be able to bring that championship caliber car to him for a full season because it's one thing to be up in the competition, but to be at the top enough across the year is it's tough every year as we've seen. Um, so I guess we'll see if this does pay off for Charles down the road.
I mean, the dream move would be boot George, get Charles. That combo I feel like would be just insanity. The Kimi Antonelli plus Charles.
That would be that would be devastating for Italy because with how much they love Kimmy, how much the Tifosi love Charles. Um, if he was then on Mercedes and they've got Kimmy over there and Charles, then that might collapse Ferrari as a whole. So that would be a pretty chaotic move.
Bro, you'd have to bring the pool vacuums to every race, you know?
It yeah, that would definitely kick off some silly season drama if we saw something like that. But I'll move us over to real brief around the water cooler section here. The funniest things that I was seeing are just like part of what I was seeing the most was Kim Kardashian being at the race this weekend, supporting Lewis. He's giving her a hug after the race and all sweaty, and she's like, I was a little sweaty too earlier, but I stole Kimmy Antonelli's P1 towel off his podium to just dab my forehead a little bit and just dry it off. And the fact that she just like walked by, grabbed it, no one said anything, no one's paying attention, like no, just it just cracked me up. Like all these people who are in the crowd just like, oh, Kim K's there. What is she doing? Um, had me giggling for the end of the weekend. I needed um something to raise my spirits a little bit after the start of the race.
I'll tell you what raised my spirits during the race was seeing Max not get off the line, and 0.002 seconds later, you hit the group chat being like, man, this sucks. I've never laughed harder, man. Like,
I believe it.
it is so funny. Like,
I
when
was
something bad happens to Max, like, it's just devastation.
Well, I was just so prepared for for the Grand Prix. Like I was like, it's Monaco. This is fun. On Saturday, I'm pumped up. I'm like watching qualify. I went and knocked out. I knocked out a run Saturday morning early to get home in time to be sitting there. I didn't even shower. I got home just in time for qualifying, planted there on the floor so I didn't get sweat all over my couch, and was like locked in the entire time like Christmas morning. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, like this is gonna be good. Let's see what happens at turn one. And I didn't even get there. I was just like, I was like, man, I got hyped up for for Monaco, one of the biggest races of the year, just to be immediately 100-0 let down. So yeah, I definitely can see where that was funny. The race turned out to be a decent watch anyway, so I can't complain too much. But the immediate reactions from me, I'm sure are pretty entertaining sometimes.
Well, and like you just know it's coming. Like you can feel it coming. Like
Like
when
you
he just
see
like
it and you're like, did my phone vibrate yet?
yeah, exactly. Like you're just like waiting for it. Like it was almost perfect. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're very welcome. But we'll move over to talking a little bit about Monaco and all first, before we get into the feeder series segment with the Formula 3 and Formula 2.
Yeah, so I mean Monaco's really interesting. I feel like the modern race is so it's really interesting because the broadcast like really tries to hype it up. They really try and bring that like weekend at Monaco feel to the broadcast, talking about how it is like such a historic circuit. So the Monaco Grand Prix or like that circuit has been running since 1929 in some variation. So like there used to be the like European Formula Championship that was before Formula 1, where there's, you know, a smattering of races there, and then the first Formula 1 certified races in 1950, that's won by Fangio, but the essence of that circuit, like it has just stayed the same like the whole time. So almost, what is it, like almost 100 years, right?
Yeah.
There have been small changes and updates to the circuit, but like the spirit of that race is effectively the same. And I think, m- as far as I know, one of the unique challenges that is looked at as to be like a reason as to why to keep it on the calendar is the tunnel. There's no other challenge like that on the Formula One circuit where the drivers go from day to like effectively nighttime and then back out into the day, where the dark to night or the dark to day transition when you're coming out of the tunnel is a genuine challenge that tests these drivers, and I think it's one that they are not willing to give up lightly,
Yeah.
as well as giving up the history of the circuit. So one thing that I find really interesting is every year that a Formula One championship has been run, the race was at least on the calendar. So some years like it may not have happened or like have been canceled or whatever, but Monaco was one of it was a part of the first Formula 1 championship, and then was basically a part of it ever since. So I think there is something to that, and I believe the Formula One organizers like are not willing to like give up on that lightly, right?
Mm.
There's obvious conversations about like the circuit would not be able to be a newly registered Formula One, like, or yeah,
Oh, yeah.
FIA grade one. So like it is purely just grandfathered in. So I think that's a really interesting aspect where it's kind of a circuit that we've all agreed is like outdated and isn't, let's say this, isn't conducive to quality modern racing. But for a lot of the reasons I just laid out, they say, yeah, but we're gonna keep it because it's historic and it's interesting and people love it, and it brings people out. It brings people out. They are spending money. You see those yachts in the harbor. Literally, almost every balcony, every rooftop, every street. It is just lined with people. Everybody is out to see this race no matter what happens. So I think for all of these reasons, it is a fun weekend. I think it is like a great talking point. I think it is a wonderful set piece throughout the year, even if the racing is not great. They've tried a bunch of things over the years to like improve that. You have drivers like Lewis Hamilton saying like, well, yeah, it's not really racing. I'm pretty sure it's Jacques Villeneuve was quoted as saying it's like riding a bicycle around your living room. So like, it's so to a certain degree, like the drivers aren't a big fan of it, but it's been a part of the blood of the Formula One World Championship since the beginning, and I'm not sure fans, the organizers, like are ready to give up on that. A couple of the circuit changes, I'll just run through them. The first big change was adding the Nouvelle chicane. This is the chicane that's after the tunnel. It was in hopes to just basically make it safer, just like cut the driver's speed going into the left-hander that enters you into like the swimming pool section. So the Nouvelle chicane got added. Next up, the swimming pool chicane got added, which is now like it's a famous portion of that track in modern Formula One racing now. Many stories coming out of that set of turns, which is really nice. And then finally, one of the aspects that got added is the Razcast turn corner, where it's like the little bump out and then like a really awkward right hander that leads on to the pit straight. So those are a couple of like the big changes that have happened to the circuit over the years. But yeah, I think Monaco is, if nothing else, a spectacle. And and here's the last thing I'll say, Aaron: there is not a better qualifying.
No,
So
there's not.
some races have had good qualifying, but the jeopardy of Q3 is implicit. It is implicit. And so I find that to be like a very unique and exciting factor of the race where like if you want to be a part of like the story of the Monaco Grand Prix, be here for Saturday. Be here for Saturday cuz that's the important session. Some would argue that's actually the points paying session because
Yeah.
many drivers, if you can put it on pole at Monaco, you can win the race.
Yeah, and I think another, just like kind of leaning on that, but another good point about why they should keep it on the calendar is because it is still a very like it's a technical competition there. Like we saw all throughout the weekend just the tiniest brushes of someone's car on the barrier destroying their suspension. We see people all weekend long in F2, F3, and F1 locking up through the Nouvelle chicane as they're coming out and getting blinded by the sun. Like you're coming out of the tunnel, getting blinded by the sun, having to pick your braking point to go around the chicane on a downhill, and like it's challenging, very technically challenging. So I think that it tests some different driver skills than other circuits do, and whether the race on Sunday is more of a procession than a race, there's still plenty that can happen throughout, as we saw yesterday. Not every year has that, but this year we definitely did. So
No, and that's a great point where it's like, so somewhere along the line, the fans started selecting for like just the biggest pop on a Sunday, where like you're saying like no, like if you're selecting for the best drivers in the world being tested by the toughest circuits in the world, like the toughest technical challenges that motorsports has to offer, and you're telling me like you want to take that off of the calendar because like, yeah, because it's like boring or something where you don't have people like banging tires and crashing out and whatever. It's like no, I think the interesting elements are just different than at a like a Monza,
yeah,
right?
and drivers, like if you are gonna make an overtake there, you really have to make a good move. So it really does challenge the drivers just in a different way. So I'm personally enjoy Monaco weekend every year, even this year. So it's a fun race. I'm glad that they've kept it on the calendar as long as they have.
Yeah, but just understand that I do have to huff this much copium before and after just to be able to, you know,
Oh, absolutely. You gotta hype yourself up sometimes. Give yourself
it
that little pep talk.
it's an old race. It's historic. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And let's go.
Well, we'll hop into the actual racing that happened. But first, we just want to remind you, if you're listening along, following along, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends and family that like Formula One. We appreciate everyone who is a part of our community and who would like to join. We're always happy to have you. So thank you to all of you listeners for spending time with us.
And if you're new, check in after every Formula One event. We've got a new Tired Boys podcast after each Formula One race, so check back in then. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Absolutely, and we'll jump right into Formula 3 here. So we had the Formula 3 sprint race and then the feature race this weekend. Um, there was a lot of chaos. The hairpin with that many cars on track definitely causes some issues. We had 29 cars out on the circuit in the sprint race. So even for just the qualifying and everything, they had to split everyone up into two groups to do the qualifying just because there's so many cars. Um, but at the end of the day, there was a little bit of heartbreak for Yamakoshi, the driver who initially crossed the line first in the sprint race. He ends up being disqualified post race for a technical infringement. So after a really strong drive from him, going through multiple safety cars, a red flag restart, and all, definitely a bummer to drop out after getting the win. But we did have P1 with Xie, who is the driver for one of the drivers for Dam's Lucas Oil, Chinese national who's driving for them. I don't believe it's the first Chinese driver to get a win in Formula 3, but Strong performance from him. And then we had Bruno Del Pino in second and Claro in third
Yeah, and that's for that was for the sprint race.
for the
Yeah,
sprint. Yeah.
it was a shame because of the safety cars, like they had to red flag the race to clean up because it was like multi-car pileups basically. So they only end up doing like what it was like 20 minutes of running maybe at the
Just
end.
about, yeah, 20 to
Um,
25.
yeah, so a lot of it was just spent in the pit lanes, unfortunately. But yeah, just scooping up some good points there for Delpino and Clairot, and yeah, nice promotion there for how'd you pronounce it? Chie? Is that how you're saying
I
it?
think Chie is how that's what I thought I heard on the broadcast. But
Fair, fair, yeah, and solid P1 then for Chie. Yeah, so the sprint race was like, yeah, that was like whatever, you're just watching the red flag for the most part. But I thought the feature race was solid. I forget the guy's first name. It might have been like Tivon or like Ivan or something. But he was driving in the green car. He was just always he was just always on the replay, just like cutting by somebody or like trying to hairpin on
yeah,
somebody. And
Yvonne David. Yeah.
okay, okay, thank you. Yeah, and I was like, and every time I would look over at the timetable, and I'd be like, oh, like, is he like, racing for points? Like he's trying to get up in there. No, P15 he's racing for. It's like, get after it, brother. Like that,
Oh yeah.
go for it.
And I mean, there were a number of times throughout the broadcast that I felt like they were like cutting to a battle, and it was like P24 versus P25, and I was like,
Hmm.
it was still fun and all, but it was definitely interesting to see that with the racing for them to kind of be picking out all these battles across. But it's great exposure for these young drivers, and at a circuit like Monaco, it's when you have that many cars on the grid, you've got some little battles kind of all over the place.
Well, and it's interesting because you are actually able to look for the overtakes. Your cars are tiny enough that you can actually push by. I saw a lot of people, like you were talking about in the sprint race. A lot of people were going for the overtakes at the hotel hairpin, and then also I think it's Mirabeau too. That's right after the hairpin.
Mm.
There's possibility for overtake either like inside of Mirabeau, and then you can attack like going into Portier too. So with the smaller cars, you can you have some more overtaking opportunities. So yeah, the drivers all throughout the grid in that F3 feature race getting after it. And then Ugachukwu was up in the points paying positions. Obviously, he's just like the driver. I know who he is. He's you know one of the drivers that I'm following, so solid to see that he's getting results, getting points in that feature race.
Yeah, and he picked up some solid points. He had a P6 in the sprint race as well, so really solid weekend overall for him. Was leading the championship previously after getting the first feature race win in Melbourne, but has been able to just add some more points on, have a solid weekend to take him a little bit further out in P1 at the moment for the F3 championship. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on him as well. But there's some solid drivers in the field. Badaware, Slater both looked really good in the feature race. Teofil Nile as always seems to be in the mix up there as well. So with about it looks like 7 race weekends to go on the calendar, we're only 2 in, so there's still plenty that could get shaken up with these standings. But for now, we've got the American Ugachukwu up in P1 in the driver's standings for Formula 3. Um, Over in the Formula 2 race, though, we had kind of a less chaotic sprint race. There was a little bit of contact and some rubbing is racing throughout the race. But I didn't feel like there was quite as much chaos in the Formula 2 sprint race as we saw in Formula 3.
No, their first running was pretty lights to flag in that regard. Many drivers were finishing where they started, either just like within a position or two. So yeah, overall, nothing too crazy out of the sprint race. But yeah, I thought the feature race had a lot more going for it. To be honest, you have Kamara with the great start, but just nightmare later on. So yeah, I think a lot more storylines through the feature race.
Yeah, and with Kamara, it was interesting because and I saw a lot of conversation about this, his pit wall coming over the radio and really kind of letting him have it over like what happened and like swearing at him and all. And he's just like, were you not watching? Like I was sliding around and it seemed like that was something that a lot of the drivers were struggling with, especially right at the end of the race there, with getting the super soft tires up to temperature. For whatever reason, it was just giving them all fits a little bit because we saw Maini pit pretty late, I believe, onto the super softs, and then Dino Beganovic ends up running him down on the last lap there to get past him for P3 on the podium. Um, and it seemed like there was some struggles there with getting that tire up to speed. So a frustrating moment for Kamara and a learning experience for sure. You just got to take it on the chin a little bit and keep going because he's obviously still a strong driver and just a couple tough weekends the past two.
Yeah, and like to the team as well for Invicta Racing, like that's got to be a tough one to swallow. Where you've pretty much run really well up until now. Get your guy a great start, but it was after their pit stop that it went wrong. So yeah, just from a team perspective as well, they've got to be really hating that result there on the Sunday. But yeah, Solov put the pressure on him. It was. Yeah, weirdly, I don't think it was like totally like an unforced error, like some mechanical failure.
Oh yeah,
Solov was
no.
pressuring him. They were like in like under racing conditions. So good on him to fight for that P1 and take the win there in the feature race.
Yeah, and that's you have to use those opportunities. You get the undercut, you have your tires warmed up a little bit, and you get a chance to race someone on cold tires. Like that's all you can do is put the pressure on and try and make a move. And so Solov, yeah, had a really strong weekend with the win there. Done with the P2 and Beganovic in P3. So Dunn's picked up P2 in the last two feature races there. Really strong performances from him, and so maybe some consistency there to continue to build on. But he's put himself in a pretty solid spot, tied for P3 in the Drivers' Championship at the moment. Gabriele Mini, who had a tougher weekend, was leading by a decent bit up until this weekend. He is now only 1 point ahead of Nicholas Solov after he picks up the point in the sprint race, along with the pole position and feature race win. So really bringing the battle to Gabriele Mini there at the top of the standings.
Yeah, which is really solid. I'm hoping to see Dunn able to keep up his um, championship challenge throughout the whole year. Remember last year we saw some, not so stellar results from Dunn. Kind of fell out of that championship contention as well in that regard. So yeah, I don't want to see him squander these couple of good points paying finishes here. Especially compared to last year, I definitely want to see him improve on what we saw that he was capable of in the 2025 season there for Dunn. So yeah, hopefully he'll be able to improve on that. Because yeah, last year towards the end didn't go so hot.
Yeah, and I mean, right now we still have the top six within 20 points in the championship, which, when you have a sprint race and a feature race every weekend, that points differential can swing pretty drastically and pretty quickly. So there's still a lot of racing left and a lot to fight for. So even for some of these drivers who have had a couple of tough weekends, like Kamara has for the past couple, there's still plenty of time to bounce back and pull yourself back into that fight in the championship. So I'm looking forward to that and their upcoming race at Barcelona. So they'll be having the next F2 race on our next Formula One weekend at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia.
Very nice. Yeah, that's a great circuit. Love racing there. So it'll be great to be back with the Formula 2 group as well. Get to see my boy Rafa Kamara back in action. Get another bite of the apple. Cause yeah, that goddamn pit wall. They messed him up. They must have they must have gave him the bamboozle at the pit stop.
They didn't keep the tire warmers on long enough. They sent him out there with cold tires. Um,
They
but
sabotaged him.
yeah, they definitely some team improvements overall, but hopefully yeah, Kamara will bounce back. He's a strong driver, so I'm sure he'll turn it around here in the upcoming weeks. Um, but we'll go ahead and jump now into the Formula One weekend here at the Monaco Grand Prix. And we'll kick it off here with the winners and losers segment of the episode.
Yeah, don't look. We are just the agreement boys this weekend. We seem to just come to similar conclusions here. So my first winner is the big easy one, Kimi Antonelli, 5 wins in a row. This is a pole position to checkered flag victory for Kimi Antonelli. I mean, it's pretty cool to watch this kid's performance from a like I'm struggling to find the words for his qualifying lap. It was almost perfect, lap around Monaco. So yeah, I just don't think anybody had a better weekend than him, obviously. But yeah, he really hooked it up this weekend, didn't he?
He did, and he was my first winner as well. I think I'm just kind of in awe of his performance over the season so far. I mean, he's uh start P2 and then rips off 5 wins in a row. He's maximizing every opportunity he gets. He's going toe to toe with Max for qualifying for pole and just barely beating Max out. Their first Q3 runs, they're 1,000th of a second apart with Kimmy 1,000th of a second up on it on Max. Max puts down a really solid lap and then Kimmy comes back. He has to on the red flag restart, hold off Lewis, who's now starting next to him in the Ferrari that has been very good at starts through the season, holds him off. Like you said, pull to flag victory and just is driving the wheels off that car right now. He looks unshakable, and for someone so young, it's very very impressive for someone who just a couple of years ago we were questioning has he won enough to really jump up to Formula One yet? He's won enough in Formula One to prove he deserves to be there by far. So yeah, just a phenomenal weekend for Kimmy, and now a 66 point gap to P2 in the championship, which is Lewis Hamilton. It is no longer George in P2 in the drivers. So Lewis having a strong weekend, but Kimmy just that's all I can say. Just phenomenal.
Yeah, so at the end of this Monaco race, I had the feeling of like, um, okay, so like, is this just it? Like, is
Oh
it
yeah.
just like like just the Kimi Antonelli parade to the end of the year. It feels like that. So hopefully some of the contender teams, your McLarens, your Ferraris, hopefully their development packages can put them, in touching distance, in 10-foot pole touching distance of this Mercedes car with Kimi with Kimi behind the wheel. Because yeah, it's really impressive right now. But yeah, that's the winner of the Monaco Grand Prix. I'm curious, who was another one of your winners for the weekend?
So my second winner was the Racing Bulls squad with Liam Lawson finishing P5 and Arvid Lindblad picking up the P6 in the Grand Prix. Just strong performance through for them after having some struggles early on. I think Lawson's car was took some damage in practice 3 and was being rebuilt, or for qualifying, or something of that nature. But the two of them pick up some really good points on the weekend, have jumped themselves up into a pretty tight battle with the Alpine team, just being 2 points back in the constructors now. So that was just a really solid weekend for them after a little bit of a shaky start.
Well, the other side of that coin, though, is they only looked good because 7 out of 11 teams only had one of their or yeah, 7 out of the 11 teams only had one of their vehicles finish. So, just everything's relative,
It is. Yeah. But they were the best of the rest outside of, it was a Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren 1 through 4 at the final standings. And so best of the rest on the weekend. They get both car in a weekend where hardly anyone got 2 cars across the finish line. They were able to get both of them into the points. So I do agree it, but they set themselves up, or did well to put themselves in that position to maximize when everyone else was kind of falling apart.
Yeah, and to that point, I may not have faith in Liam Lawson, but I do. I think I've seen enough glimmers from Lindblad that, yeah, if the car is capable of a decent result, he's gonna be able to make his way there, or so it seems so far. But yeah, Racing Bulls able to scrounge up some nibbles here after their Monaco weekend. Like Aaron said, P5, P6, getting some decent points in that regard. So pretty cool. Cause yeah, Racing Bulls were my team winner as well. I was looking up and down the grid and I was like, well, I would just be lying if I tried to make a case for like any of these teams where like one of their drivers didn't finish or like crashed into a wall or something. It's like, well, I would just be blowing smoke or whatever. Or if I'd be like, well, actually, like McLaren, McLaren's actually a winner here. It's like, no, that's just not true. The loser that I picked for the weekend, I'm just gonna say it, George Russell. I, it it feels like the curse of the second seat has now moved to Mercedes, but it's not the second seat. It's actually just George Russell's seat. And like he does not look good compared to Kimmy.
No, and I think George is really I want to see him put up a fight and everything. Like, no matter how much I give him flack for whining about things, or for being just a little difficult with some of the other drivers over the radio and all here and there. I mean, I do want to see Kimmy not just run away with the championship. I'd like to see it be a little bit contentious and add some excitement. But George is, I think, some of his mentality, like when he is down, he seems to struggle, and that really feeds into itself a bit more. Um, Even with the instance of the situation during the race where he has the drive through penalty that he gets at the end of the race and has to serve and everything, like it just goes from bad to worse with him trying to, and he did the same thing in previous years here in Monaco, where he's stuck behind the Williams of Alex Albon, and he's like, you know what? I'll cut the chicane. They can give me the 5 second penalty, and they're like, sorry, bud, that's a drive through, not a 5 second penalty. This one, he has the drive through, and he's like, can I back everyone up by 30 seconds in one lap so that I have a shot to try and run people down here and get back into the points? And it's like, that's not how you want to be going racing out there. So he seems to get into that mental space sometimes where he's like, how do I find my way out of this trap? And it just compounds on the issue.
Yeah, that seems really reasonable. The yeah, and then it also factors into his pit team as well,
Definitely.
because if you watch that replay, like one of the sides of his car like starts working, the other pauses. So
And
it's like,
I'll even say the Jackmen were the ones who caused the issue in the first place, because
sure,
they
so it was like a
popped him up
miscommunication.
the second. Like the one tire guy was waiting, but the Jack guy had already popped the car up. So at that point, it's like, well, you didn't serve the penalty. So yeah, it just yeah, it definitely hurts from the team aspect as well. But he has his own parts to play a little bit there too.
Yeah, definitely agreed. I'm curious, who did you feel came up short this weekend?
So my first loser was just the Cadillac team, which is a bummer because and it's not a major loser, just really unfortunate. They come in, they're bringing another upgrade to Monaco. They're really trying to improve their car, bring it up to speed. They have Valtteri Bottas's car go kaboom and not finish the race, and then Checo in all of the chaos works his way up, crosses the line in P10, gets a post race penalty to take away Cadillac's first point. So I think that's where they ended up being my losers. More so just the disappointment that I was like, I was pumped for them to pick up that first point and everything for the team and for the season. And so to have that taken away from a post race penalty is definitely disappointing.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. There is something to be said about, getting your, being able to snag up some first points like on a really chaotic race. That wouldn't be bad for Cadillac, but they're they're in the running. It doesn't feel like they will go pointsless this year. It seems like they've been able to really make like pretty exponential improvement, each session, each race. So yeah, I don't think points are far away, but yeah, tough to see them missing out on their first opportunity here, when it was really in reach.
Yeah, we get the small silver lining of Fernando Alonso sneaking into the points there and getting his first point of the year. But I'm ready for the champagne when Cadillac gets their first point.
Dude, but isn't that literally just the microcosm of Aston Martin? Lance Stroll just crashing out at Rascas while Fernando Alonso is like getting points when he shouldn't be.
Mm,
What is wrong with this picture? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I don't know. It's like the the Steve Carell, the Office one where Pam's showing him two pictures and is like, spot the differences. You take a picture of Lance and Alonso last year and Lance and Alonso this year, and you're like, what's the difference? It's the same picture. So it's the picture we've been seeing for the past couple of years here, and Fernando just is able to sneak up there and snag that point. Um, but before we get into some more team talk and all, what was your second loser here on the week?
Oh, I didn't have one. I could not come up with a reasonable loser. Somebody that like stood out among the other losers. I mean, come on, like pretty much every team like had something horrific happen. Like one of their cars crashed out or DNF. So yeah, even like picking like Racing Bulls as a winner, I was like, geez almighty, like what happened here? So yeah, it was just a bloodbath. It was just a bloodbath at Monaco.
Well, I do have a second loser. I
Maybe
scrounged one up here, but I
you better not
had
be lying to me.
no, I had Alpine's pit wall as my second loser of the weekend because I think that it is insane to let your driver cross the finish line in P3, get so excited and ecstatic, only to find out that he's had two 5 second penalties that he's been given during the race that he was never informed about, to take away that podium for someone who has only had, I think, 3 podiums in his career or something like that. He is pumped for the team. He's coming over the radio like guys, we did it. Like this chaotic race, we made it. And then he ends up getting dropped down to P, I think it was 7 at the end, um, after crossing the line P3. And this is where I think it can be a little interesting conversation. Do you think if you're in that position, you would want to know that you have those penalties over your head before you cross the finish line?
Yeah, of course. And I don't know what type of like communication system they have set up where they decided like, yeah, that's not like relevant information for him. Like that's like really weird.
Yeah, and that's why I put them as my second loser, because I mean, you think that I would want to know if I'm in that position. I want to know where I'm at, like what's how are things shaking out and all, and not to be just kind of like embarrassed coming across the finish line for them to be like, actually, man, sorry, glad you're excited, but um, and even on the post race show, like the other former drivers who were on there were like, yeah, I'd want to know. Like, I don't know why they didn't tell him. So just a kind of a bizarre decision from the pit wall, in a lot of people's opinions, uh, to let Pierre go by without knowing that. And I feel for Pierre too, because he really put in a strong drive, and had a really great performance there.
Yeah, so that clearly doesn't like if it's like, oh, just let him go, you don't want to like upset him or whatever. I mean, if that's the thing, yeah, clearly doesn't work because you're right. It is just kind of awkward when they come over the radio and they're like, well, actually, no, we're not on the podium.
Yeah, like that's his heart just had to sink. Like
Yeah, that'd
if
be
I
awful.
if I were him, I would have Kimi Räikkönen for what, like kind of thing. Like, what is this penalty for? What are you talking about? I'd be not very happy on the radio if I was in his spot. But that is the last of the losers here in the winners and losers segment. Um, so moving over to some of the other talking points, what were some of the standout things that you saw from this weekend that you wanted to touch on that we haven't?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough. Like, what else really happened during the race? The couple of crashes creating the, you know, creating the like bunched up grid that created a bit of jeopardy for Kimi Antonelli, gave Lewis like a bit of an opportunity, but yeah, I think it was, yeah, I don't know. It felt a bit like, yeah, not a whole lot was really going on. That was kind of my sense of it. Like I said, I think one of the most interesting and exciting parts of the weekend was likely the qualifying session on Saturday, and then maybe like the F2 feature race. I'm not sure there's like a whole lot of other stuff that we could like really pick through. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of there with you. Monaco had some chaos, but it really the majority of the race did not have a ton of action on the track. I think some of the other things that I wanted to note was with Lando's car. I believe he, with his car dying and the issues he had early in the season, um, I believe he is on his last battery already now. So for any of the next, what, 16, 17, 18 races, I guess we have 18 left or 17, depending on whether they throw things
Well,
back on the calendar. Who knows? But that's
he'll just take grid penalties.
yeah, but this is early in the season to be taking those. So I think that could just be something to keep an eye on with the Constructors' Championship of how that could affect McLaren, especially in their fight with Ferrari, having um, Ferrari jumping up the standings there, um, and taking a bit more of a lead with Lewis's weekend. But the other kind of interesting point that I wanted to mention was some reports of a brake situation with Ferrari, where Lewis has actually opted to make some changes to the car. So Ferrari, as well as a lot of the teams on the grid, use brake parts that are coming from a company called Brembo. They have been doing brakes and brake parts, calipers, discs, all of that for a very, very long time for Formula One and for a lot of the teams, if not all of them. Um, so one thing that Lewis had requested and got approved for a change was to use different brake discs than the ones that they had been using with Brembo and Ferrari. Going to a disc that he had used when he was at Mercedes that he felt more comfortable with, felt like he knew kind of the proper pressure, whatever it is, that just the feel of the brakes, and felt more comfortable with it with those other discs in. Charles decides not to make this change, which apparently it sounds like he is going to be making this change moving forward because as soon as Lewis made that, I believe it was right before Canada. Lewis has, we've seen a solid step from him, and I think a little more comfortability in that car. And from what I was reading, it sounds like Leclerc had both of his rear brakes locked, and his front right was like a partial lock when he was going. So that's why we saw that front left tire start to turn when John and I thought we saw the suspension brake before Leclerc even hit the wall. It's because the other three tires were locked and that one was trying to go, and nothing else would. So the car just wouldn't turn for him or slow down. Um, so I think that's going to be interesting for the Ferrari camp to see if that does affect Leclerc positively or negatively. He's going from something he um, knows and has been driving with for a while to something that he's not going to know or necessarily be comfortable with the braking. But if that brake disc is just more comfortable in general, maybe it'll be a positive. But it's kind of one of those crapshoots where it's hard to know whether the positive of the new part will outweigh the negative of the unfamiliarity that Leclerc will have. So I'm curious with the upcoming races to see if there are any differences we can spot, and if he is kind of moves back up to being even with Lewis or a little bit ahead, like we saw last year, and then kind of the early portion of this year.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I imagine he's encouraged to at least try out the new brake system, and see what kind of feel he's able to get. Because yeah, I don't think like if a new tech presents itself, like especially one that your teammate Lewis is keen on. Likely not something you want to just want to eschew. But yeah, we'll see, or even if like we even get word as to which break uh break system he ends up going with. But yeah, that's an interesting one. Hopefully it helps Lewis in his hunt against Kimi Antonelli, because like we were saying earlier, Lewis Hamilton with that P2 has crept into has crept into that main contender slot against Kimi Antonelli. So yeah, we'll see what the Ferrari camp decides, see if it can give him an edge in that regard for Charles.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that, but I'll be trying to keep an eye out for any updates on that, and of course we'll see if there's any differences on track. But the last couple of notes I had, a disappointing weekend for Audi, in my book, just with the P11 and P13. They're constantly just on the cusp of picking up more points and getting up in the constructors standings. And on a weekend like this, where there was so much chaos, there were so many drivers going out of the race and all, to still end up in that P11, P13, like same general vicinity with a number of cars ahead of you going out, I think has to be pretty disappointing. Like, this is one of those weekends where you need to be able to put yourself in that spot to scoop up some points. And for a car that's been as quick as the Audi has looked at different points, to have Sergio Perez ahead of you on track at the end, or Fernando Alonso, who are in these pretty struggling cars, there's definitely some question marks over the Audi team with what they need to do to just put it together for a full weekend.
Yeah, it seems like they really struggle in their qualifying sessions. They don't seem to like get into positions where they're going to be able like then to race for more. It just kind of feels like Haas is qualifying into positions where they're not really able to get anything done then on the Saturday, and especially on a circuit like this, like overtaking is just going to be really hard if your qualifying position isn't great. So yeah, unfortunately, I think that's one of the teams that ends up suffering the problems that are pretty particular to the midfield. When things get clogged and congested, things get slowed down in the first first couple turns, and all of that, all of that affects the longer race. So unfortunately, I think like you're saying, Haas is in that pack. They're qualifying the P9 to like P13, that kind of area. Sometimes cracking into Q3. But yeah, I think for them to really separate themselves from the teams that they're racing around, I think it's got to start with better qualifying positions, and then they're in clearer air.
Yeah, and you have to have definitely the consistency there, which I think with the car itself has not, they haven't fine tuned everything yet, and so it's still early days, but These weekends, like we said, with the Racing Bulls taking advantage and picking up a big haul of points this weekend, that feels like it could have potentially been any of the midfield teams this week, and the Racing
Sure.
Bulls were just the ones that ended up there. So there will be definitely more opportunities across the year as we have I mean, some of these reliability failures that we're seeing and things like that. It's the first year of a new regulation, so it's just going to happen. Um, but a lot of racing ahead, and then my final note was more on the officiating and all. And I just think that I'm curious about if there will be any additional post race changes to the finishing standings, because there have been appeals from the Alpine team and all of these pit lane speeding penalties were like 1/10 of a kilometer per hour over. There were 0.1 kilometers per hour exactly for like all of them over the pit lane speed. So whether they were cutting a corner coming into the pit lane and shortening the distance that the telemetry is measuring, or like what exactly was going on there. I don't think they'll make any changes. Crazier things have happened though, but I find that just very interesting that many teams and drivers were having the same exact issue coming into the pit lane and all. It like makes it seem like potentially something was wrong there for it to be that close for that many people. Um, but again, there were still plenty of drivers who didn't have that issue. Max Verstappen, for one, was not speeding in the pit lane. So I mean, it, everyone else should just be abiding by the same rules.
Yeah, I have a feeling we won't see anything in the form of appeals. I just have a feeling the safety car protocols for future races will just be a little smoother. Maybe they'll just like red flag, make everybody go to the pits instead of like doing the drive-throughs and such. So yeah, if anything, they'll likely just have been able to. They'll likely learn about some details that they'll have to iron out for future races. But yeah, other than that, I'm guessing the penalties are going to stand.
Yeah, I feel like it would be a little too difficult to try and rehash out when some people served penalties, some people didn't, and all of this. It would have, yeah, it would make it a little bit difficult to. Let's just do it again. Let's just run it back.
See, because the angle is like, and this is like the real critical thing and like the real critical way to think about it. But listen, none of the people that got penalized are going to be like in the championship hunt at the end of the year. Like I don't think these penalties will have like curdled the championship battle or whatever, like
No,
whatever, dude. It's like 5
I agree.
seconds here, 5 seconds there, just fucking move on. It's like Valtteri Bottas, they were questioning like is he going to have a drive-through penalty on his first race? It's like come on, really?
Yeah,
You
no,
get what I'm saying?
I do 100%, and I think yeah, at some point it's like, what is the feasibility of this? How does that actually work, and is it worth it at the end of the day? And I think the answer is probably no. Pierre Gasly would disagree for sure, but um, trying to take the podium from his fellow Frenchman. I don't know. Which I think that's the only other little note I had was big props to Isak Hajar, struggling with the car throughout the race. Like some issues going on that they were like, sorry bud, we have no fix for it, keep driving, and he put the car on the podium. And a huge congratulations to him for his first podium in Red Bull. That's exciting, and seeing him up there for his first podium with Lewis, after him being such a big fan of Lewis as he was coming up. was pretty awesome to see. And then the post race interview asking Lewis about the two guys whose combined ages are less than his finishing next to him on the podium was my last little giggle from the race weekend.
Oh, what was his answer? What did he say?
He hadn't even thought about it. Like he was oh my gosh. And they kind of were like you're young at heart, Lewis.
Oh, hell
So it
yeah.
was, yeah, so just kind of funny because it didn't even click to him. He's just like, these are my other drivers on the grid and everything. They're younger, but like didn't quite realize how much younger.
That they don't add up yet to one Lewis.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
So a yeah, entertaining Monaco weekend, even though not all of the racing was. The chaos, the qualifying and everything were definitely fun and enjoyable. So another year of Monaco. Let's have it. Keep it on the grid. Keep it on the calendar.
Agree. Honestly, like as long as the Monaco qualifying session is good on the weekend, like I'm happy. There's usually supporting categories. So that's always fun. And yeah, I think the qualifying session on Saturday was, I mean, especially Q3. Like Q3 was so freaking exciting. With the top competitors all going flat out, one up in each other, coming within, like we said, coming within a thousandths of each other of the previously set time. And yeah, I just don't think it gets better than that. So yeah, as long as the Saturday qualifying is good, I'm happy with Monaco. Like all good. Like there's better circuits, there's better races, but there is not a better qualifying session, and this year definitely delivered. So yeah, all good.
Yeah, I'll take it. And so with Monaco wrapping out here, we do have Barcelona as the next circuit on the calendar. So we'll go ahead and jump into a little preview here with the hot seat for Barcelona.
Yeah, so as you guys know, we're doing the hot seat as our way to look ahead, and Catalunya is coming up in just a few days. So hopefully you get the Tired Boys podcast just in your ears, and then you'll use this to get set for Catalunya. So we're gonna put Aaron in the hot seat. We got three multiple choice questions for him. I'm gonna provide the answers, and we'll see how well he does. Can he get a 3 from 3? So, Aaron, question number one for the hot seat. This driver broke the Mercedes and Red Bull dominance at the Circuit de Catalunya in 2025 by converting his pole position into a win. Was it A, Charles Leclerc? Was it B, Oscar Piastri? Or was it C, Lando Norris?
I'll go see Lando Norris.
Yeah, it's B, Oscar Piastri.
Mm,
Pole position, defended from Max to win the race. Yeah, you guessed the wrong McLaren driver. All good. Question number two. 6 wins is the most any driver has achieved at Catalunya. Can you name the two drivers who are tied with 6 wins apiece? And you just have to name them.
uh, we're gonna go with Schumacher.
Yep.
Okay. And feel like this is a trap, but I'm going to. Mm, this is. I'm gonna go with Seb Vettel for the second.
Yeah, yeah, but your heart knew that the right answer is Lewis Hamilton.
It did.
It's Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton. There was no way I could have given you like options, or else it just would have been so
Yeah,
clear.
I. That's why I felt like it had to be a trap. It felt too obvious. So I guess I get half a point there.
That's fair. That is fair. Seb Vettel of the other possible guesses, yeah, that's a pretty reasonable one. No worries in that regard. All right, question number 3. Here's a better one for you. Question number 3. The second win Fernando Alonso has here, he was driving for Ferrari. Who was he driving for when he won in 2006? Was it A, BMW, B, Williams, or C, Renault?
C, Renault.
Nailed it. All right, so 2.5 out of 3, sir.
Or 1.5 out of 3.
Uh,
Because I missed the
okay,
first one. Yeah, I
that's
guessed the
fair.
wrong McLaren, so 50% on the week.
All right,
In a
not
three
bad, but
question quiz.
Catalunya is a good one. Storied circuit. We will have another Spanish Grand Prix this year. Remember that one will be at the Madrid, but it'll be nice because we are back at Catalunya this year. So yeah, that'll be a nice one.
I still prefer Mad Ring, but
Yeah,
Madring is definitely how you're supposed to say it.
yeah, the Mad Ring. It's like what is this? Like a Mad Max arena, you know?
I hope so.
That's actually fair. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll have the Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix in 2 weekends time. Looking forward to it. But we'll hop over here to the cool down lap to wrap out the episode with the Rose, Thorn, and Seed for this week. Justin, why don't you kick us off here with that?
All right. So my rose here for the week. I've been getting out on the deck in the sunlight on these nice warm days. I've just been soaking up the rays, getting my ghost white pale ass skin nice and like tanned, at least getting some color into it. So yeah, just enjoying the nice like breezes, enjoying the nice sunny days out there. So that's been really good. Big thorn in my side, the business software that we've been using, they added like a half of a feature. They basically added like a new font, and then they doubled the price the
Oof.
of the subscription. So just a massive hammer down. And that was really frustrating. But hey, at least I can use modified Times New Roman, so that'll be really exciting. And then my seed here for the week is an interesting broadcasting tip that I had gotten, that I'm gonna do my best to incorporate. So hopefully it's a seed that I'll be able to start sprinkling in there and improving some of my broadcasting skills. I'm gonna take this bit to heart. So yeah, that is my rose, thorn, and seed here for the week.
Nice. Well, I also have been enjoying the nice weather, but for my rose this week, I was tanning a little differently. I have been getting out and running and training for a 5 mile race that I have this Friday. I feel pretty good overall with the running. I've been really trying not to go too pedal to the metal where I've had some injuries and all in the past. So I've been easing myself into things. I've been trying to do a bit more stretching, including some stretching and a little bit of exercise specifically for my knees and uh, building some strength and stability for them so that I can not have knee pain, which has been pretty successful this thus far. Um, they'll my knees will hurt a little bit while I'm running, but then when I'm done, I'm not like crippled and unable to walk for a couple days like I've had previously. So that is my rose. I've been getting out and about. My thorn is just that there is not enough time in the day. I would appreciate like a 30-hour day so I could get a little more sleep and have time to do all of the things that I still want and need to do. I feel like with work, I'm working wire to wire every day with the house projects and stuff like that that I do want to get done, I feel like they are always dragging out longer because having the energy or the time or the proper weather or any mixture of those things is just challenging. So um, lately I've just been a bit frustrated with feeling like I'm trying to find time for all of these things that I both enjoy or kind of need to do as an adult, and fitting them all into this life schedule. Um, but we'll keep at it, and things will get done, and then hopefully the list will get shorter of some of these odds and ends that I have to check off. But my seed is one of those things that I'm very very close to getting off the list. I am done with putting in all of the deck boards and everything for our deck. I have new railing sitting on my front porch waiting for the opportunity to go in. I've gotten rid of all of the old wood already by taking it and getting rid of it at my work dumpsters. So I didn't have to pay anyone to haul it off and got it all out of there. Um, so overall, the project's coming well. I'm very much looking forward to being done with it, but we're getting there. So little by little, and that's my seed. I'm hoping to have that all wrapped up very soon, and hopefully within the next week or so.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about like time in the day and these projects and checking them off the list and imagining this time when there'll be nothing on the list, the deck is done, the tank is clean. What else do we have to do? I'm just curious. I just have to ask this question. Do you know who Sisyphus is?
Oh yes, I do, and the list will not ever get shorter, but maybe some of the projects won't be as big. I'll still have projects on the list, but maybe they'll be a little bit smaller scale.
I'm not sure what version of the story you read, but the boulder didn't get smaller every time he pushed it up. That,
It
that
it
wasn't in the version that I had.
that's fair.
He's like,
I've gotta
he's
have
like,
some light at the end of the Monaco tunnel, man. Come on.
that's so fair.
Maybe
That's
the
all
light
right.
will be when I at some point don't own a house that was built 76 years ago, but for now this is my life.
That's fair. It's a fixer upper. It'll be great.
Starter homes, baby.
Sure.
But yeah, that's my rose thorn and seed for this week. And that of course brings us here to the end of this week's episode for the Monaco Grand Prix. We had Kimi Antonelli P1, Lewis Hamilton P2, Isak Hadjar P3 to wrap out the podium. And yeah, the upcoming race in 2 weekends in Barcelona.
Uh, no, it's not 2 weekends. It's
Is
this
it?
coming weekend. Yep, and then it's
Oh my gosh,
uh
yeah, it is. Sorry. My
and then it's Austria 2 weeks after that.
Gotcha. That's what I think I was seeing, the 2 week gap to Austria. So yeah, sorry, Barcelona this weekend.
So that means new podcast episode next Tuesday. Be here or be Sphere.
There we go. Call back. Thanks everyone for
Nailed it.
listening. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace out, everyone.
See ya.